All right, all right, all right. We're about to get ready to start, folks. My friend OB is here. Just give us a moment. We've had some technical fun over the last few minutes trying to get everything ready and started. But you guys go ahead and start commenting and sharing because this is going to be a good discussion this evening. I really always feel honored to have my friend OB here, and I'm thankful that he is present. We're going to be on the screen here in just a moment. But again, take this moment to greet each other and to say hello. And as I said a moment ago, just kind of share this with someone that you think might benefit from this. But make sure you say hello to each other. Hi, can you see me now? All right, I am here, and my friend OB is also here. What we've been doing is during midweek check-in is we've been talking about the Tao Te Ching during our midweek connection time, and I wanted my friend OB, who I consider to be an awakened being. We're all in ascended soul training. I believe that this gentleman, I do believe, is woke, and at the same time, there's an awareness that we know that awakening happens really in stages. And I think by the time you finally get to whatever it might be, as far as being fully awake, that you'll no longer even care about the word awake. You'll just simply be there. And in being in that space, I think that my friend OB is certainly on that journey with us. So, OB, if you would, for just a moment, greet everybody. I'm going to bring you on the screen now. There he is, everybody.
Yes, it's good to be with you, John, and your beautiful community. I'm honored to share this sacred space with you to discuss the Tao Te Ching and see if we can unearth some jewels, some nuggets, some wisdom that will aid us in this pilgrimage that we call life as we grow together, love together, stand together, be together, and come together. So it's an honor to be here. I honor you in your spirit, your devotion, your courage, all that you're doing, not only with your voice, but in your actions and your reactions. You are that light that is illuminating the goodness and the glory of love and God and all of those beautiful things. So I look forward to this discussion.
And I feel the same way about you, my friend. So thank you for that. And it is a great discussion. And I'm glad we picked this one today. By the way, your beard is looking rocking, bro. I'm just saying. Nice beard.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm working on it. Yes.
Well, it's
Yeah.
working out. You just kind of helping me. It's almost like I'm talking to Moses this evening.
Come on now. Yes. Watch it. Yeah. I had to get a clean shave today. I'm coming on camera, so I had to style
Look
the
at
beard and get a clean shave. So yeah, man, you bring out the best in me.
well, I don't have a shadow either this evening. I think I shaved earlier this morning, but I don't know. There's a little bit there, and it feels a
No,
little like sandpaper.
it looks good. It looks
Let's
good.
let's get into the 76th verse of Tao Te Ching. Every time I go to read a verse from the Tao, I always say, and anybody who has heard me talk about Tao will tell you that I always say this. I always say this is one of my favorites. And I think it's because all of them are. But I like
Yep.
this one here. It says, men are born soft and supple. Dead, they are stiff and hard. Plants are born tender and pliant. Dead, they are brittle and dry. Thus, whoever is stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life. The hard and the stiff will be broken. The soft and the supple will prevail. And there's a saying that I have used over and over again. I don't remember who said it, so I'm going to say anonymous, but someone said it and it struck a chord with me many years ago. Blessed are the flexible, for they are not easily broken.
Speak
So
the truth.
let's, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about flexibility because you and I have a similar background in the Pentecostal charismatic, fundamentalist Christian belief system. We
Yes.
know what it's like. Both of us know what it's like to be in the Bible Belt and have them leave a few lashes upon us in a non flexible environment. So let's talk a little bit about flexibility. What what comes to mind for you personally as you look at this verse as it pertains to flexibility and suppleness?
Yeah. Great question, John. And I agree with you. Every time you read one of these verses, it's like there's this awakening. It's like, well, this is my favorite one, right? And then you read the second one. It's like, well, no, this is my favorite one. And it just goes
Mm-hmm.
on and on and on because they're eternal, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
something in it that just moves us, that encourages us. And what I would like to do is I think you read from Stephen Mitchell's translation.
I
If I
did.
can, I want to read Thomas his translation of verse 76, which is certainly comparable, but it nuances it a little bit. So he begins this way: when people are born, they are supple, but when they die, they are stiff.
Mm.
All beings, plants and trees, are soft when born, brittle when they die. Therefore, stiffness is an associate of death. Flexibility is an associate of life. This is why when an army is strong, it doesn't win. And when a tree is strong, it loses. But notice this last little pericope. I love this. Forcefulness is below, yielding is above, right? Yielding is
Forcefulness is Forcefulness is
below,
below,
yes.
yielding.
Yielding is above.
Nice.
One thing that I love about verse 76 in the Tao Te Ching is how it challenges us and forces us to rethink, or as our good friend Carlton Pearson says, to think again about this concept of strength, right?
Mm.
Um, we see strength as something that is hard, right? Inflexible, unyielding. It's my way or the highway. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm in and you're out. So we have this westernized understanding of strength. And what Latsu, which is translated like the old one, whether it was him or a group of people who penned this great work of wisdom. What he is telling us to do is to rethink this, like to go beyond, to think outside of this box about what strength is truly all about. And I love this. I love this because I believe, all great teachers speak the same language. Would you agree with that?
I think so.
All great teachers, yeah, speak the same language. So Lord Jesus, in that great Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7, specific Matthew chapter 5, he says, blessed or happy are the meek, for they will inherit the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Another way to read that is, blessed are those who are gentle, for they will inherit the earth. So meekness from the biblical perspective has to do with an attitude and quality of one's heart where a person is willing to accept and to submit without resistance, right? It goes back to that
Mm-hmm.
beatitude. Blessed are the flexible, for they will not break. So Lao Tzu is calling us forth to step out of our comfort zone, step out of this rigidity, this hardness and even harshness that that governs us, and to be this open, vulnerable person that is like a palm tree in the wind that just bends back and forth. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
love it.
So I'm glad you brought that up about palm tree. A lot of people think, in fact, you'll even see it. One of my favorite movies, Obi, is the movie Tombstone, and it's
Yes.
where it's where Kurt Russell is playing the part of Wyatt Earp, and he essentially says, I'm an oak, which means I'm strong. I can stand against this temptation for this woman. I'm an oak. And he begins to bend, and Doc Holliday says, "You're an oak, are you?" And it's funny because people associate strength with oak trees, but the truth is the strongest tree that we know of is a palm tree. And it has the ability to lay all the way down when the wind blows. And when the wind is
Yeah.
gone, stand right back up. But its flexibility is what keeps it from being destroyed. Whereas an oak tree or a pine tree, we know about those in the South. A pine tree will snap with just the slightest wind that comes through or be pulled up
Yeah.
by its root system, even. But a palm tree will just lay down and hang out until the wind is gone. There's another translation, and you're right. The first translation, it's actually one of my favorite translations of the Tao, is with Stephen Mitchell. There's another
Right.
translation, though, and this one remains anonymous too. There's actually several hundred translations out there, and as I've looked through so many of them, it's hard to decide which ones are the best. But this one says
Right.
people are born into this world soft and weak, but they seem to die hard and stiff. All things such as grass and trees are soft and supple while they're in life, but in death they are withered away and dry. So the hard and the stiff are death's companions. I like that line. The hard and the stiff are death's companions. The soft and the weak are life's companions. I like to say it this way. Um, See if I can use this. Okay, so I'll just say it this way. If you want to be under the discipline of life or a disciple of life, because I look at both disciple and discipline as being kin to each other, same thing.
Sure.
Under the discipline
Absolutely.
and the disciple of life, then flexibility is what's required. Being
Yes.
able to move, being able to say, I don't know. One of the things I ran into in church that people had a hard time dealing with was when I would answer a question pertaining to theology with these words, I don't know. I was always taught to, if nothing else, to BS. Don't
Yeah.
admit
You
that you
have
don't
to
know.
know. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In the Christian community, it's like to say that you don't know is, I mean, it's taboo. You don't say things like that. Here in the South, John, um, we use this word being bullheaded, right?
Mm,
Being bullheaded means that I'm not going to go to the right or I'm not going to go to the left. I'm not going to open my ears to what you're saying. I'm not going to open my eyes to look beyond my comfort zone. I'm being bullheaded and I'm going to stand right here. And bullheadedness is tethered to this arrogant life. And when you're bullheaded and you're arrogant, you live a very one-dimensional life. Life
mm,
is all about you, right? And what happens when you live this one-dimensional life is you unfortunately miss out on the mystery and the magic that life has to offer,
mm-hmm.
right? Yeah. And so Latsu is like saying, break that glass house, man. What you're used to is good and it's providing things for you, but there's another world of potential beyond your house. And if you're not willing to bend outside of your comfort zone, you're going to die and you're going to die in this very brittle and dusty dusty way. So it's a challenge and it's a paradox. Really,
Mm. My
it's
Lord.
a
Oh,
paradox. It goes against the grain. To
yeah.
think differently about to think differently about strength it's an anomaly. But sometimes anomalies lead us to deeper truths than those things that we're most comfortable with.
I absolutely agree. Oh, you blacked out for a second there. It was probably just an internet thing, and that's why I had jumped in. But what you're saying is so true. And here's the deal: we've been going through this pandemic, and there's been panic around it. And the only people who have
Yes.
prospered through it are people who have been able to adapt to the situation. Businesses that can't adapt will bankrupt. People who can't evolve
Yes.
will just revolve, and you'll revolve until you get to the place where you're so dizzy that you're not even able to move forward with making any progress. So what we've experienced is we've experienced being pushed through the birth canal of a new world and a new way of doing things. And as a result of
Yeah.
that, some people have just lost their ever-loving mind. But here's the deal. I don't think we ever reorient as human beings until we get disoriented first. Something has to knock us out of the orbit of the world we've known in order for us to end up in the wide open expanse of all that's possible. And in that expanse, flexibility is an absolute must. And I believe that's where we're at now. We are adapting and we're evolving. If we don't adapt and we don't evolve, we will become extinct. So the option that we have is to get rigid and to get dry, which leads to rigor mortis, or to return to that birthing experience or that toddler experience, that newborn experience that are so flexible. Well, I'll give you an example. My second child was born breech, and she was born with her feet literally upside of her head. She was born tail end first. I tell people all the time, she's still got that same attitude. She came in telling the world to kiss it. She she was born both feet up next to her head, brother. When I say I'm talking about up next to her head, it took us almost a month. We'd be changing her diaper, and you'd pick her. You didn't even have to pick her feet up to wipe her tail in. You didn't have to do it. You had to put her feet down so you could try to get the diaper on. And if you didn't hold them just right, they'd spring right on back. But she was so
Yeah.
flexible, the doctor said you could just work with those legs and you can just help her to move those joints to loosen up and what have you. But I've noticed how supple and how just tender children are and how agile they are. So
Yeah.
maybe this is some of what Jesus means by be born again, so that you can flex your way into the kingdom.
Yes. Yes, man, I love it. That's great, John. You know, um, sometimes it takes being knocked flat on our back before we will actually look up and see that there's another space and place to this world, right? Another dimension that is calling us forth. I've said this in the past. Sometimes we see best through eyes that have been washed with tears.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it takes, in order to open us up to a new experience is important, right? Walking in the same rut, doing the same thing, thinking the same way, talking to the same people. Yeah, there's meaning and there's purpose in that, but we're limiting ourselves to so much more. I think what Latsu is speaking about is an authentic life, a true life, not just a life of existence, because I think existence is coupled with this rigidity, right? But life is like it's like it just opens up and it experiences all the different angles and the sights and the smells and everything. So authentic living is a process in which we intentionally set aside our hard and rigid desires, because ultimately, if we're honest, our hard and rigid desires doesn't benefit us. It's limiting. It puts shackles on who we are, and it's certainly not beneficial to those who are around us. And it's a really sobering thought to admit that you don't know and that there's more to experience.
Mm-hmm.
So Lao Tzu was saying, listen, I want you to be pliable. I want you to let go of the attitudes and the actions and the reactions that are destructive. And I want you to soar to new heights. I mean, we all, even at this very moment, we all have attitudes and actions that are destructive.
Mm-hmm.
How are they limiting my place in this world? And the reason we keep going back to them is because we're so familiar with them.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we need to intentionally be unfamiliar in order to breed something new and something exciting and something expansive. So I love in the latter part of it when he says, he talks about this above teaching, and he grounds that, right, and he talks about this tree, and that an old tree, when it's close to death, is brittle, and this tree is vulnerable to fire, to snow, and to strong winds. um, it can't stand against the harsh elements of nature, and it dies a very unpleasant death, right?
Mm.
However, when you're flexible, when you're open, when you're willing to not, but to hear, you can experience a more a fuller life, and you're able to bend beyond the aging process. Um, Someone once told me, when I was going through my dark night of the soul, and I thought everyone turned against me, that the church was saying all this stuff about me, and it's like, man, I was drowning in my own self-pity, my own despair, my own despondency. And someone made this statement to me. She said, you can never soar to new heights until you're willing to cut the chains of the anchor that's keeping you at bay.
Mm. Say that last part one more time, because we had a phase out of the internet. What was that again? You can never soar to new heights.
Yeah, you can never soar to new heights until you're willing to cut the chains of the anchor that's keeping you at bay.
Woo! That'll preach.
Yeah. 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 So
You'll never
being
soar to
being
new heights. That's awesome.
yeah. So being flexible allows us to adjust. It allows us to maneuver to any situation. There was a lady, um, that I knew. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, which is basically well, it's not a cancer, it's death. And when she initially got the diagnosis, she said that she was okay with it.
Mm.
She wasn't going to go through the chemo or the radiation or have the big Whipple surgery or anything like that. She said that she was at peace with it, and everybody was like, "What? What do you mean?" They were discouraged. They were disillusioned. Why are you doing this? Why don't you go out and fight this? And her response is, I'm happy. I'm okay with where I am. I'm going to accept this that was given to me, and I know there's something beyond this life. And this kind of taps into what Latsu was saying here in verse 76, going with the rhythm and the cadence of life. The word life itself, John, L-I-F-E, you take the L off and you take the E off, and you have the word if, right? If this, then that. You're right. So life is conditional. We're free to have our kicks, but we're not necessarily free to have our kickbacks. Whenever life, comes at us, rather than resist it, throw up your hands and fight it and push against it, just surrender to it. Because at the end of the day, it's all good. It's all good, right? There's
That's
no bad.
that's so good. That's so good. It's all good. You know what I was reminded of as you were saying that, OB, is I heard an EMT say one time. He said the thing that causes more soreness in a car accident is most often not the
Mm.
accident itself, but how the person responds during the accident that's taking place. He said when they
Ah,
stiffen up in fear and everything in them just like locks in. And as soon as they get locked in, that's when their joints take a beating. That's when bones get broken. That's when their ligaments get torn. He said if they're knocked out, more times than not, if they're knocked out before the collision happens, or if they faint or black out before a collision happens, they'll actually be the less broken bones and less injuries because their body just flailed and just sort of went with the flow of the accident. Now, that sounds a
Yes.
little odd, but it's what I was reminded of when you were saying that, because most of the time in life, we're going through life clenching. We're going through
Yes.
this life too often, um, living from a space of, oh my God, what next? And not only are we in some ways attracting that kind of energy to ourselves, but we are also clenching. And when we do, we're making our own selves sore. We're assuming that life is about to take us out. And in the assumption, we lose our flexibility. And you know what assumptions do anyway, right? So we're going through life with this stiffness about us instead of being able to be in the flow of life. The reality is that death is as much a part of life as living is. And to be able to receive that and to know that, and also to remember that this vehicle one day is going to stop. This spacesuit that I have on, one day I'm going to unzip it, step out of it into whatever the next phase is. There's something really freeing and liberating about that reality. And I think in some way, Lao Tzu's dealing with that here as well. He's almost saying, welcome death as much as you welcome life, in the sense or the understanding that it's the ebb and flow, it's the day and the night, it's the yin and the yang.
Yes. You know, um, Wayne Dyer said, and I know you've read a lot of Dyer's stuff, but he says, if you want to hold water, right? If you in the ocean
Mm,
and you scoop up and you got water in your hand, the only way that water will sit in your hand is if you're tender with it.
mm,
The moment that you squeeze and tighten up and just try to manhandle it, what happens is the water seeps through, and our
mhm,
life needs to be handled with care,
mhm,
with ease, not resisting, going with the flow. Like you said, the ebb and flow, coming in and going out. And when you know that you're okay, that all is good, that perfect love, as the Bible says, perfect love casts away fear, right?
mhm,
When you understand, not just when you understand it, but when you wear it, when you feel it, right? When you speak it, when you incarnate it, right? Then it's so freeing. You can soar to new heights. You don't have to just exist and go through the mundane, mundane acts or activities, right? The system of boredom. I mean, think about it. Being in this rut and living in this place of what we call comfort, and it's only comfort because we're familiar with it. It's really boring. Same day, same experience, same, and it's like, man, no
Groundhog
wonder
Day.
there's yeah, exactly. No wonder there's so much paranoia and sickness and suffering. It's like, if you'll just have the courage to step out and to walk a different direction, to not get rigid when things change,
Mm.
uh, you might find that around the corner isn't really that spooky, but it's actually filled with awe and wonder.
Mhm, mhm. I would rather be open to wonder than slammed shut by belief. I would
Oh
rather be
yeah.
open to wonder than slammed shut by belief.
I'm gonna
Brother,
have to still, Ron. That was good.
hey, the first time give me credit, and about the fifth time say I was fasting and praying for 40 days and the Lord gave me this.
uh,
Well, I was going to
yeah,
call you Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I won't do that. But I want to say, my brother Obi, I want to say
that's
thank you
okay.
for. Have you been called that?
Oh, absolutely, and a lot worse. So it's all good. It's all good.
He's, he
Yes.
said, I've been called worse by better. You can say what you want.
You, that's right. That's right.
Brother, I want to say thank you for joining me this evening on this chat. We'll have to do this again because I do appreciate your spirit and I appreciate your heart and I also appreciate your insights. So if you would just maybe as we start to go out, if you would just would you offer up a centering prayer? Let's just do that as we start to go out of this gathering this evening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just find a comfortable seated posture. If you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. If not, keep your eyes open. And let's just begin with a deep inhalation. And as we inhale, just realizing that we are inhaling life and creativity and love and beauty. Just inhale all of that goodness. And as we exhale, just dropping the shoulders and just releasing the tension, the anxiety, the anger, the hurt, the pain, the rigidity. Just release it. Let it go. And again, let's take another deep inhalation. And this divine breath that animates this life, but all life. And as we exhale, again, just releasing any type of tension in the body. And one more deep inhalation. And release. Open your eyes. Smile. The spirit in me honors the spirit in you. God bless you. You are as you are. You're perfect as you are. Go make a difference in the world. You you are the difference. You are the influencer. God bless you.
Obi, thank you so much. And everybody, thank you for joining us this evening. I am thankful for every single one of you. And hey, by the way, we are going to have the Welcoming the Unwelcome book discussion taking place in the chat room for whoever wants to join directly following this evening. And don't forget, tomorrow also is our meditation time, bright and early. I love you so much. Now go and make it a great evening simply because you can. Peace.